Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into the really complex world of anti-AI sentiment. Now, you might think this is just, some fringe thing, but our sources, they paint a much more nuanced picture. Our mission today is to unpack this, figure out what's real public backlash versus maybe more extreme views, and how institutions are, reacting.
Exactly. And what's really striking is the difference between the global take and the U.S. view. Globally, there's still this cautious optimism, 55% seeing more benefits than drawbacks in 2024.
Yeah.
But the U.S., it really stands out, growing wariness. By October 2023, you had almost 49% of people there thinking AI risks outweighed the benefits.
Wow, that's quite a split.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets even, starker when you look at the public versus the experts, right?
Yeah.
Only 17% of the U.S. public think AI will have a positive impact looking out over the next 20 years. But for experts, that jumps to 56%. That's a huge gap. Why such a difference?
Yeah, it's a really fundamental disconnect. It's not just numbers. I think, the public often sees the immediate stuff, the potential disruptions, maybe job losses, things like that. Whereas experts, they're often closer to the tech, maybe seeing more of the potential upsides, the innovation side. It just shows the conversation isn't really uniform at all.
Right. So if we try and sort of break down this anti-AI label, you've got what some might call the vocal minority, maybe more ideological, even extreme views. Like I saw a stat, 50% of US respondents agree AI is humanity's greatest existential threat. And online, places like Reddit, you sometimes see this really aggressive anti-AI stance. Comments can be pretty emotionally charged, maybe not always fully informed. Absolutely.
And those arguments often frame AI as cringe, plagiarism, something that's stunting real growth or killing creative careers. And it often gets tied into a wider sort of antipathy towards big tech. These are strong feelings, definitely, but they can sometimes overshadow the more, let's say, practical concerns that many people have.
Okay, so beyond those really passionate voices, what's actually driving this wider anti-AI feeling? It seems like it's rooted in very real, tangible worries, what we're calling the real backlash. Take jobs, for example. Job displacement. 56% of U.S. adults think AI is likely to decrease overall job opportunities. That feels very practical.
Precisely. That's a huge one. And it's not just jobs. Another major area is data privacy and security. Trust is definitely shaky there. Global confidence in AI companies protecting data actually slipped a bit, from 50% down to 47% between 2023 and 2024. And in the U.S. specifically, 66% are highly concerned about their data being misused.
Yeah, I see. And then there's the whole issue of bias and discrimination, which seems, particularly tricky with AI. You mentioned 55% of both the public and experts worry about bias in AI decisions. That's striking alignment. And we've seen examples, haven't we? Like the Amazon hiring tool filtering out women.
That's a classic case.
Yeah.
Trained on biased historical data. Or there was that Optum algorithm for healthcare that understated the needs of Black patients. Real-world consequences.
Definitely. And what about misinformation, deepfakes? That feels like it's exploding.
It is. It's alarming. 66% of Americans are highly concerned about getting inaccurate info from AI. And deepfakes specifically, they made up, 6.5% of all fraud attacks in the first quarter of 2025? That's a massive jump, like 2,137% from 2022. Huge increase.
Wow.
And a really disturbing side of this is that 99% of deepfake videos target women or girls. Plus, there's the growing threat of AI-generated child sexual abuse material, which is just horrific and a massive challenge.
It really is. And it's not just deepfakes for fraud, is it? It's being used for cyberbullying, too, creating fake reviews online. Trustpilot apparently removed 4.5 million fake reviews in 2024 and said 90% used AI tools. We're also seeing this backlash against people using AI, right? Like criticism aimed at K-pop groups or even film posters if people think AI was involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings us to, okay, how are institutions responding? Corporations seem overwhelmingly focused on these practical problems. About 80% of large companies now have actual generative AI policies. They're focusing on legal stuff, data security, trying to mitigate bias, transparency, accountability, the practical nuts and bolts. And interestingly, they're using AI to fight AI misuse, like Google using its own tools to pull down millions of policy-violating reviews.
So it's like AI playing both offense and defense.
In a way, yes.
And public pressure, these real concerns, they seem to be driving actual change. The Hollywood strikes, for instance, they got specific clauses about AI regulation in their contract.
That was significant.
And didn't ArtStation ban AI from some challenges after artists protested?
They did, yeah. After protests about AI stealing work and originality concerns, they specifically said AI can't be original in that context.
Right, and universities are getting involved too.
Academic institutions are developing policies focused on academic integrity, ethical use. And U.S. copyright law is pretty clear, too. It requires human authorship. That Thaler v. Perlmutter case reinforced that. It really highlights that even with AI, there's still this core value placed on human creativity.
Okay, so wrapping this up. What we've really seen today is that the anti-AI sentiment that's having the most impact, it isn't just, vague fear. It seems to be a pretty rational, grounded response to actual risks. Tangible things like job security, data privacy, bias, deepfakes, even questioning what human creativity means now.
Exactly. So as AI keeps evolving, and it will, playing that role of both causing harm and potentially helping combat misuse, the real question for you, the listener, is this: how can you, as an informed person, actively contribute? How can we shape a future where we get the innovation, but we balance it with real accountability and, human well-being?